Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Ethics. My name is Leah, and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. This introductory video is going to cover the general subject matter of this course. We're going to talk about the kind of work you can expect to do for this class. We're also going to spend a bit of time talking about the course format, and then finally, we're going to do an overview of the syllabus. In this class, we are going to spend a lot of time thinking about our reasons for why we think the things that we do. And in particular, we're going to be thinking a lot about various sorts of moral quandaries that arise within the sphere of what we might call business. This class is going to be all about learning to take a philosophical approach in analyzing those reasons. So our sort of first step is going to be gaining some of the concepts necessary to do this sort of philosophical analysis. And the way that we're going to do this is by first learning about a range of different moral theories. We're going to talk a little bit about a theory of justice, and more generally, theories concerning politics and philosophy. So from there, sort of with the concepts and methods in hand that we learn from those theories that we talk about in the beginning of the course, we're going to start examining what is arguably the central question within business ethics. And this question centers around what sorts of obligations businesses have, or sort of the individuals that operate within the sphere of business, we might say, what sorts of obligations those entities have to other entities and individuals, which would be things like consumers, shareholders, fellow business people, government institutions, and other public institutions, as well as even sort of natural resources. All these are sorts of maybe what we could understand as components of the real world on which businesses depend for their very existence. So, without consumers, without say an education system, or without roads, or without oil, things like this. Much of the big major corporations in place today, without those things, many of them would just cease to exist. So we're going to be looking at the relationship between those two things, with the business sphere and the entities, we might say, on which they depend. And we're going to be looking at the sorts of obligations, for the most part, that businesses have to the entities that they depend on, but also some obligations that, say, employees might have to their employers. So in thinking about these obligations, we are going to be looking at a number of different kinds of obligations. For instance, we're going to be thinking about certain moral obligations that people might have when it comes to negotiating with one another, and perhaps with consumers. We're going to think about obligations connected to addressing some of the racial and economic inequality and inequity in place in this country in particular. And we're also going to be thinking about how businesses ought to address the vast range of mounting problems that are connected to climate change. So for every one of these topics that I sort of just listed off very quickly, for each of those topics, for all of these, these sort of moral quandary questions that surround this central question about what sorts of obligations do businesses have, for every one of these topics, you are going to be practicing applying the concepts and methods that we learned in the beginning of the class to analyze your own views on these matters. So ultimately, hopefully, what you'll be doing in this class is gaining a clearer understanding of why you think what you think, and if after analysis, you decide that that initial intuition was spot on, from there, hopefully you'll have a stronger, better, clearer, more persuasive argument concerning the what you take to be the correct answer to that particular moral quandary. Great. So this probably has left a lot of you wondering, what will practicing these kinds of concepts and doing this kind of analysis actually look like, right? Okay, so we're going to be looking at assignment specifics and things like this in a moment when I do the syllabus overview. However, in general, the work that you're going to be doing in this class is going to primarily consist of asynchronous discussion with your classmates, or attending the live virtual help sessions, which again, I'll talk about in a moment. And doing a number of what we might call short writing assignments, which is to say there are not going to be any essays assigned for this class. The reasoning being that this is an introductory business ethics course. The main goal is to introduce you to some of these basic concepts to help you clear up and strengthen your own way of thinking about these sorts of things. And as a result, you won't be asked to develop full essay format styled arguments. Instead, it's going to be a lot of short answers on things like worksheets during every module period, which I will discuss what the module periods are in just a moment. But during every module period, you're going to be assigned at least one longer format question concerning some aspect of the material that was assigned during that module period. So again, for the most part, it's going to be a lot of short writing blurb type things, written assignments coming in the form of worksheets and exams. Yeah, again, this is because this is an introductory course, and the goal here is to equip you with concepts, not necessarily teach you how to develop full essay format styled arguments. Yeah, it's just going to be, the work is going to mostly be making sure that you understand the concepts we discussed accurately, you're applying them consistently, and doing a little bit of introspective work in thinking through your own intuitions to different issues and topics we'll be discussing. This leads us to perhaps the most important point that we're going to cover in this video, which is the format of this course. This course is an asynchronous course, which means that there are no scheduled times that you are required to log in, attend a Zoom class, anything like this. So technically, all the work that you're going to be doing in this class is self-paced. You're going to be watching lecture videos in your own time, in large part participating in discussion board posts in your own time and things like this. Now, some of you may have taken an asynchronous course in the past and you're familiar with this. For those of you who have not, it is incredibly easy to fall behind in an asynchronous class. In large part, I think this is because you don't have a place that you have to go, whether it's virtual or in person, holding you accountable, making sure that you're keeping up to speed with the class. I strongly suggest that students identify a time now where every week they can set aside, you have that time set aside to do the work that you need to do in this class. It is, one of the things that I have done to sort of help encourage everybody staying on top of things is there is going to be at least one assignment due every week. And we'll get into, the nitty-gritty details of what those assignments are going to look like in just a moment when we do the syllabus overview. But in general, just understand that, regularly having to submit coursework, staying up to speed with that is really going to just help you in general feel like you're staying up to speed in the class. So although this is an asynchronous course, like I've said a few times at this point, I have tentatively scheduled a virtual help session every week that will meet on Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now, if it turns out that this time doesn't work well for the majority of students taking the class, I am more than happy to reschedule. So if this time does not work for you, again, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., if that time doesn't work for you, please email me and let me know at least 3 different times and days that would work for you. Again, it's not going to be mandatory to attend these virtual help sessions. For the most part, they're going to be places where students can sort of ask questions, talk to one another about what's going on, the course material, perhaps review sessions for the midterm and exam. So it's not mandatory, but I want it to be an option for the majority of you, hopefully, to attend those sessions if you feel like you need some of that additional virtual help. So again, email me with a few different days and times that would work for you in the event that the current tentatively scheduled Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. time does not work for you. We're now going to turn to the final portion of this introductory video, the syllabus overview. So on the first page here, we have just basic information about the course, including my email. An important note about emails: please be sure to include 5330 in the subject line of any email you send to me. The unfortunate truth is that CUNY's emailing system floods instructors' inboxes with a lot of emails, and it is easy to miss a student's email. If you put 5330 in the subject line of your email to me, I promise you that I will see it the day that you send it. It's really the only way that you can ensure that you get a prompt reply from me. My general turnaround for responses to email is often much less than 24 hours. So if you need that quick turnaround, remember you have to put 5330 in the subject line. All right, so another important note about the course materials, the content, the things that you need to be reading, watching, and listening to in this class, all of that is available on the Course Blackboard site. You can find individual readings, podcasts, and videos under their respective module links. So if you are looking for, say, what the homework is for this module period 1, You can click on module period 1 and you will find a link to the required reading. And currently you'll be able to download and complete the course goals assignments. Under those modules, you not only find content for the course, but also assignments such as discussion boards, and things like this. Anything that is assigned during that module period, you'll be able to find under the tab with the respective module period name. As I mentioned previously, the current hours that are scheduled for our virtual help sessions are Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Again, if you can't make those, you can't occasionally, so again, it's not mandatory, but if you can't make those virtual help hours, please email me with 3 times days and times that work for you. You can also fill out that information on the course goals assignment, either way, whichever you prefer. The link for both the Zoom link for both our virtual help sessions as well as my office hours is the same. You can access this on the first page on the syllabus. Another important note connected to emailing me about questions is you'll also see on the main menu, you'll see on the menu tab on our Blackboard site, a tab for the Q&A forum. This is a great place for you to ask questions about assignments or due dates or some other course policy. Perhaps you're having trouble accessing one of the links to, say, an assigned podcast for that week. You'll be able to post issues, questions, concerns in the Q&A forum. So anything general, if you don't see something on the Blackboard site that you think should be there, for instance, some sort of assignment or something like this, post the question in the Q&A forum. If you are confused about a due date for a particular assignment, post your question on the Q&A forum. General questions like these, oftentimes you are not alone in feeling confused. I'm only human. Sometimes I make mistakes. Something should have been posted when it wasn't or something like this. If you're confused because I made a human mistake, it is very likely that your fellow classmates are also confused. So posting that question publicly will help me answer that question for everyone in the class, not just for you. So in the event that you have a question like that, go to the Q&A forum. If you have a question like that, check to see on the Q&A forum if someone else has had an issue and I've already answered the question there. And then if you need to reach me, obviously, regarding any questions that are personal in nature, so perhaps an extension that you need because of a family emergency, or if you test positive for COVID and you're sick and you're not going to be able to complete your work for that week, things like this, that's great. Email me just to make sure that you include 5330 in the subject line. Okay. So we've gone over basic description of the course, as well as the things that the outcomes that you'll hopefully realize by the end. And I discussed where you can find the materials for the class. So you won't, again, just on the course materials, you do not need to purchase a single thing for this course. What you paid for this class is the extent to which I ask you to pay for anything else in this class. I put a lot of effort into finding resources that are free and accessible for students specifically, because I know that those textbooks, they can get a little expensive. So I hope that everyone understands that everything being accessible through the course site, downloading as PDF, course links, things like this. That was all done with the intention of making sure that nobody else has to pay any extra money for taking this class. As I've also talked about, the format of the class, it's asynchronous. I have stressed that, that it's important to schedule your time accordingly. Time management is crucial for doing a good job, getting a good grade in this class. I would say that you should anticipate about 4 to 6 hours setting aside to do coursework for this class, including completing things like readings and watching videos, listening to podcasts, things like this. I've discussed the non-mandatory live virtual help sessions. Again, this is going to be a great place for you to talk with your classmates and ask me questions in real time, have discussions about things you might be confused about. As you'll very quickly come to see, oftentimes we can think through various issues in our head, but when it comes to writing it down or talking about it in person, all of a sudden things can start to feel a little jumbled. So you might feel really clear on a particular concept when you're reading about it in, say, the textbook that we're going to be using a bit in this class. But then when it comes to writing it down and saying what you think it is, you might feel like you hit a bit of a block. These virtual help sessions are going to be an excellent place for you to sort of flesh out your thinking, talk to me, talking to other classmates, and feeling like you can really get down a nice, clear answer at the end of the day. When it comes to accessibility, which semi-relates to, this class, although there aren't any essays assigned, it's all written work comes in the form of worksheets, the discussion boards, and exams. It is a lot. It's a fair amount of short blurb writing. So if for any reason you have an issue with writing, for instance, if you feel like you do better when you're talking on video, let me know. I will set up I'd be more than happy to find ways for people to do either video or audio recordings to complete various assignments in the class. And this is especially true of the discussion board. So if you find that you work better recording yourself on video and talking about these things rather than, writing it out and submitting it through the discussion board, let me know. I'd be more than happy to make an accommodation so you can get those points without having to do a whole lot of writing. And then just more generally, if you're a student with disability, or if you think that you have a disability, you're welcome to initiate a conversation with the Student Disability Services. Just for the record, I wish that there had been such a focus on such services when I was an undergrad. I found out very late in life that I could have had accommodations made for test taking. I have severe test taking anxiety. So if there is even an inkling in your mind, you're not even sure necessarily what the problem is, but say you have a really hard time completing an exam, a timed exam, go to Disability Services, talk to them. They might be able to help you find ways so that your professors will give you more time to complete those sorts of assignments. Okay. So now we're going on to the part of the syllabus that's probably of the most concern to everyone, the course requirements. So there are 4 different kinds of graded requirements in this class. First, we have the course goals and reflections assignments. Those are going to make up 10% of your grade. They're each worth up to 20 points. You can, if you'd like, even pause this video, go to the course Blackboard website and take a look at the course goals assignment. It's posted, it's up, and you can find it by clicking on the Module 1 tab on our Blackboard site menu. And there will be a rubric for these assignments posted under instructional videos and rubric. You can see, you also will see that tab on the Blackboard site menu. However, these assignments are pretty straightforward. As long as you genuinely answer those questions, you're not going to have any trouble getting full credit for both those assignments. All right. Now, starting in module period 2, so not this current module period, but the next module period, which begins February 6th, you will be submitting a discussion board. You will be posting a thread to a discussion forum on a weekly basis. So I had mentioned that there is going to be an assignment that is due every week, at least one assignment due every week. This is that assignment. It's these discussion board post assignments, or DBAs for shorthand. Those make up 30% of your grade, pretty substantial portion of the grade. What these assignments are going to look like are essentially, for each week, there will be a forum dedicated to some specific aspect or subject or topic within the material that was assigned during that week. And there will be a question in that. When you click on that forum, you're going to see a question from me. It's a sort of prompt to get your thinking going about that subject matter that was assigned that week. And you'll post your thoughts, your response to that question. And you will also be required to reply to another student's post. So in order to ensure that everyone has enough time to read other people's posts and reply to them, the threads are going to be due on Thursdays by midnight, and then your replies will be due on Sundays by midnight. So this is to sort of preempt any issues that might arise. Oftentimes, if for those of you that have had experience with, and I would imagine many of you have, but for those of you who have had experience with these types of discussion board assignments, oftentimes if students are required to post a thread as well as reply to other threads, everybody sort of will end up doing it all at the last minute. So I've staggered it like this, having the threads due on Thursdays and the replies due on Sundays, in order to make sure that you really do spend time reading other students' threads, and you can just sort of like focus and think about that after you're done with your bit, submitting your bit, instead of trying to do it all crunched up at once. So in this way, the DBAs they come in two parts. So the first part is this part that's due on Thursdays. It's responding to whatever the prompt is for that week on some reading that was assigned for that week. These threads need to be at least 150 words. Typically, you don't want them to be any longer than 250. And then you'll need to reply. The second part of the assignment is you'll need to reply to another student's post by Sunday. So I'm sure that sounds all great in theory. It's a little abstract. I'm sure that you're wondering, what is a good reply? Not just saying, yeah, that's great, I agree with it, but a little bit more details in that. So I'll have a rubric posted for these DBAs you'll be able to find it under instructional videos and rubric under the instructional videos and rubrics tab on Blackboard. And this is where you're going to be able to find detailed information concerning, expectations for the assignments, how the threads are going to be graded, some examples of, what a not so great reply to another thread might be, and also a little bit of information on how to create threads in these forums. An important note on the DBAs. So there are going to be 12, you'll see below in the course schedule, there are 12 DBAs assigned throughout the course, and each one is worth up to 10 points. So this makes up 30, this ends up making up 30% of your grade. However, in order to pass this class, at the end of the semester, you have to have earned 60 of the 120 possible points for these assignments. So essentially you have to receive full credit essentially for at least half of the assigned discussion board assignments. So if at the end, so if you say, if you miss 7 discussion board post assignments, then and you have a score of 50 by the end of the semester, that would result in an automatic F for the course. So you have to complete at least half of these assignments in order to pass the class. If you do not, you will receive an automatic F in the course. And an important note to that, so it's standard policy in this class that any posts and or replies submitted late will not receive credit. What this means is the posts are due on Thursday. So if you submit a post on Friday, you will not get credit for that post. However, you submit that post on Friday and you still reply to another student's post by Sunday, you can still receive 5 points for that DBA assignment. So again, since it's a sort of 2-part assignment and these assignments are worth 10 points, you wouldn't get credit for a thread posted after Thursday. However, if you post the thread, say on a Friday, and then you also complete your reply to another student's post, then you'll be able to receive half credit for the assignment. Another important note on the way in which the discussion board forums will be formatted, I guess you could say. You will not be able to see other students' posts until you post a thread of your own. So if you decide not to post a thread and instead attempt to just reply to other posts in the forum, you won't be able to view anyone's threads until you've posted one of your own. So just bearing all of those things in mind. And again, even though this is only, 30% is a substantial portion of the grade, it's still something, it's a crucial piece of this course, especially because this is an asynchronous class and discussion is so important. Thinking through these things, sort of talking them through with other people. This is why it's essential that that you stay up to speed with these assignments and make sure you don't fall super hard behind. Now, if something comes up, I am willing to make accommodations. However, you must get in touch with me first before I would allow any sort of extension on a DBA discussion board assignment. All right. Now, another big chunk of the grade is going to be worksheets. So these are going to make up 35% of your grade. They come at 20 points each. And as you'll see on the schedule below, and I've mentioned, the course is organized into 7 module periods. And within the first week, roughly, of the module period, a worksheet is going to be posted on Blackboard. So, each worksheet is due at the end of its respective module period. And ultimately, these worksheets are going to help you sort of assess the material that we covered during that module period. They're going to consist of 5 to 10 short answer questions ranging in 2 to 4 sentences each, as well as 1 to 2 longer answer questions, which will be 250 to 500 words. So as I mentioned, there aren't any essays or anything like this assigned for this class. A lot of this is just are these short answer type writing assignments where you're just relaying your understanding of different concepts and debates that we discuss in the class. And then in these long answer questions, you'll be sort of sketching out what it is you think about certain issues that were discussed during that module period. Now, although you must compose your own independent answers to each question, I cannot emphasize this enough. I strongly recommend that you work with your fellow classmates on these assignments. So they need to be your own answers, but you are more than welcome. They need to be in your own words, essentially. You're more than welcome to come up with essentially identical answers with other students. Again, as I mentioned, talking through this stuff, it might feel really clear in your head, and then you try to put it into words or you try to put it into writing, and all of a sudden it can start to feel pretty jumbled. So talking with your classmates, and that doesn't necessarily need to be in real time. This can be through email, texting, whatever suits you best, but talking with your other classmates, looking at these questions, finding out what they think, what they think the answer is, or something like this. That's going to be really, really helpful. And again, just as a side note, these questions, these answers ultimately do really need to be in your own words. And then, if I receive answers to worksheets with identical language, where there's clearly someone who wasn't demonstrating their own independent thinking, all of those assignments would not receive credit. All right. So we have worksheets, and then finally, I'm sure this is everyone's favorite, we have exams. There are going to be 2 exams in this class. Both are obviously take home, open book. A lot like the worksheets, you're strongly encouraged to work with your fellow classmates on these. There's going to be a midterm and a final, and you're going to have at least 48, I say 48 hours, but it's going to be at least 48 hours. Sometimes I can give you a little extra time on those, but it's going to be at least 48 hours to complete each. And a lot like the worksheets, they're going to consist of a series of short answer questions, throw in a little bit of multiple choice and true or false, and then there will be 1 to 2 long answer questions. An important note about the final exam. The final exam is not cumulative. This means that it is only going to concern material that was covered after the midterm. So once you complete the midterm, although you're going to be needing to use some of the stuff you learned early on, technically you will not be tested on any of that material on the final exam. The final exam is only going to concern material that was covered after the midterm. Okay. So just a side note about the timing and feedback of grades, typically takes me a couple of weeks. I will try to do it sooner, especially when, you'd probably like to get some feedback on worksheets that you submitted prior to one of the exams. However, when it comes to late work, I cannot promise any timeline. Sometimes it will take me quite a bit of time to grade late work. So a benefit to turning things in by the deadline, especially when you want my grading and feedback on those things, say for an upcoming midterm or exam, is that you can be certain that you'll be getting feedback from me in time for said midterm or exam. If work is submitted late, unfortunately, I can't promise I'm going to be able to get it to you on time. So please be sure to bear that in mind. If you find yourself in a situation where you needed me to grant you an extension on an assignment. Okay, so this Next subject is one I'm sure that you are all familiar with, and you've had to sit through quite a few talks on this one. Always happens in the beginning of the semester. Academic integrity. So this is the section where we're going to talk about plagiarism. So, although this is an ethics class and we're thinking about right and wrong and things like this, when it comes to the subject of plagiarism, it is my personal opinion that the reason why you ought not plagiarize is not one that concerns stealing someone else's work or being dishonest. The sad truth is, within the world of academia, professional academia, plagiarism, especially within philosophy, plagiarism, or what we would call plagiarism, what would qualify as plagiarism under, say, Leaman's definition of that term, happens all of the time and is rarely subject to scrutiny. People rarely, unfortunately, get in trouble for employing the words and ideas of others. And since professional academics aren't held to that standard, personally, for me, I don't see plagiarism as this huge moral failing in a student, as I think a lot of professors and instructors do, or as they might say. Plagiarism is, in my book, plagiarism is only wrong because the courses that I teach are all about helping students get a clearer, better understanding of why they think the things that they think. And because using someone else's words and things like that, that like brain hard work exercise that happens when things are feeling kind of like muddled and you're trying to get it down on the page, not doing that work, that is exactly the work that I want students to be doing in this class. That's the work that I evaluate, or at least I believe I'm evaluating when I'm grading someone's work. Not doing that work sort of defeats the purpose of why I'm here for you. It defeats, in the beginning of this syllabus, there was that list of desired outcomes and things like that. Copying things you find off of the internet are not going to be a good way to help you learn how to get better at that. It's not going to, those outcomes aren't going to be met if everything is copied and pasted. So again, I just want to emphasize that this notion that that plagiarism is wrong because it's stealing someone else's ideas, that doesn't really gain a whole lot of traction with me in my book. I don't think that's the best way to sort of describe what's going on. Instead, I think, plagiarism is something that is tempting sometimes because rather oftentimes, I think, because some of the stuff we're going to be reading in this class is going to feel confusing, and it's going to be really tempting to just go onto the internet and find somebody. You're going to read it and go, oh yeah, that's so clear. That's so much better. Like, I just want to say what they say. And again, the work that you're going to be doing in this class is finding your own words and saying it in your own way, because believe it or not, because I've seen a lot of stuff that people have written on the internet on these subjects at this point in my career. What students end up sort of like the work they end up doing, the words they end up using, the ideas they end up expressing, oftentimes are so much better than anything that I have seen from people who have plagiarized information they got off the internet. And I think this is in large part because of this discipline, specifically philosophy. There's just a lot of really bad there's a lot of really bad writing on the subjects that we're going to talk about in this class. So even if you see it on the internet, it sounds smart, it feels a lot clearer and better than what you have going on in your own head. I promise you that what you have to say is probably just a lot more interesting and just a lot better. I'm here to evaluate the ways that you're thinking about things. I'm here to help you get better at analyzing your own thoughts and opinions about things. I'm not here to grade some person on the internet's musings about the things that we happen to be discussing in this class. So if you're finding yourself in a place where you're feeling kind of confused about stuff, say you're working on a worksheet and there's a few questions where you're just going, oh, I don't remember this. I can't find it in the reading, or I don't remember what happened in the video, or I felt really confused about it. And you're going to the internet and you're looking and you see, you click on some article and you see this line, oh, wow, that looks really good. That seems like it really nails it. Say to yourself, don't copy and don't paste. I even have a nice big image right there. Don't copy and don't paste. Email Leah first. If you are feeling that confused and that frustrated, I do not care if it is up until, this is 5 to midnight before you need to submit. If you just email me and say, I'm having a lot of trouble with this assignment. I know that I'm right up against the deadline. I just feel like I can't answer this one question. We will work something out. I would always rather you email me and get an extension for a day or so on an assignment and put an answer in your own words than you do this copy and pasting. So just be sure to bear that in mind. And then, if someone does not go that route and they do the forbidden copy and paste, there are a series of things that happen after that point, and you can read about it in the details on Lehman's policies on academic integrity. We don't need to say much more about that because I'm hoping that it just won't happen. All right. So, fortunately, since this is an asynchronous class, I don't think that we need to worry too much about conflicts with religious observances. However, because there are assignments that are due on a weekly basis, I most certainly understand if something comes up where you're going to need extra time to complete an assignment. So the only thing I ask for this is obviously, of course, following Lehman's policies, and then just my own personal moral principles that I uphold on the matter. I'm more than happy to make accommodations. However, please, please, please email me 2 weeks in advance to let me know that you will need those extensions. So shortly, we're going to be looking at the actual course schedule. Take a look at that. If there are any religious observances that need to be accommodated for that schedule, let me know. Just let me know. The more time you can give me, the better. That's it. All right. So, so then just before we get to the actual course schedule, we have additional course policies on the syllabus, as well as the non-discrimination clause. Take a look at those. Please let me know if you have any questions. All right, and finally, the course schedule. All right, so bear in mind that the course schedule is subject to change. Things come up. I will also be posting additional resources to our course site. Those resources would be posted under the current module period. For example, if there is a video that I found was especially helpful, I might post that, say a video about Sen's article concerning business ethics and economic sense. So I might post that video there. So continue, during a specific module period, continue to check in, see if anything new has been posted. I'll also be, like I said, uploading the Turnitin assignments, the worksheet Turnitin assignments, roughly in the beginning of the first week of each module period. So from here, I just suggest that everybody takes a look at the syllabus, a sort of spoiler for the worksheet for module 1. There are most certainly going to be questions on different policies and things like this in the worksheet. So yeah, making sure that you understand when things are due, how extensions for assignments work, things like that are really important. I also have given you the length of, the different readings and things like this. So one thing that you'll notice is this textbook, Business Ethics. It's an OpenStax textbook, meaning that it's free, and the PDF is available to download both on the website, the textbook's website, as well as the website for, I've also uploaded the PDF version to our course Blackboard. So on the syllabus, when we are reading from that textbook, taking from that textbook, you'll be able to see which sections and chapters and things like this you're gonna need to complete for that week. So I believe that takes us through it again. Be sure to take a look at the course schedule. Really think about, I'm sure that a lot of you are working, and likely a lot of you are working full time. Probably a lot of you are working. I'm sure that many of you are working, and many of you are working full time, and most likely also going to school full time. I hold the utmost respect for going that route and completing your degree. I've been there. I've done the same thing, and I know that this time management thing can be a real challenge. So the kind thing that you can do for yourself is really taking a look at that course schedule, thinking about, what your work week looks like, what your school week looks like, things like this, and making sure to identify a time every single week where you will be able to just focus on what you need to get done for this class. All right, so that about does it for the first video in this class. Keep an eye out for the next lecture video that I will be posting in module period 2. I should be posting that roughly again at the beginning of the module period, probably around the same time that I'll be posting the worksheet. But in the meantime, you'll always have access to all of the assigned course materials, like the textbook, other articles, podcast videos. So you can always complete that part of the assigned work while you're waiting for the worksheet and lecture videos to get uploaded. And as always, please either post questions to the Q&A forum or email me if you have any personal concerns, issues that you need to talk about. And I look forward to hearing back from you all on the course goals assignment. All right, everyone, have a good rest of your day.